any other sound support?
No.
Okay, great. Okay.
No, I just was gonna record it, so I just got my phone. Cool. Welcome, beloved family. We are here for a very exciting exploration into consciousness and the incredible capacities of our consciousness and biotechnology that we have not experienced for a very long time in this amnesia that we're experiencing as a humanity. When Harlan reached out to me, like, I don't know how long, maybe a month ago or so, just a week before that, I met this miracle healer through a friend of a friend on the internet, and he does these live videos on Facebook where, you know, he's like channeling what he calls divine intervention, and he's literally like, you know, made chipped tooths appear, like healed people's tumors like instantaneously. He's like a real miracle healer, and he does these divine interventions on the internet where he like has, you can see your live listeners on Facebook Live, and he'll just like call people out and like, you know, help them out. And I literally just clicked on his thing and that popped up, and he immediately was like, Z, this is God talking to you. I was like, okay, I'm listening. He's like, stop fooling around, get to work. And then he goes on for like 15 minutes about how we're connected into Middle Earth, how we've been in connection with the creation of this planet for a very, very, very long time, since the beginning, actually. And that our consciousness has the ability to heal the ozone layer and terraform the earth and create and bring harmony into ecosystems, right? And so a week after that, you know, it was a 15-minute transmission. We said, yes, Z, like we can literally alter and heal the face of this planet and make literal heaven with trees and stuff, you know, with no holes in the ozone layer, like miraculous creation. And a week after that, Harlan reached out, and he's like, hey, like I feel like you should come to the festival, love for you to share. He sent me one of his videos that he was teaching about sacred geometry, and one of the things that he's super into, he calls terra aquaforming. So I was like, okay, like this is like what the mission kind of is, you know, like we're here to create new earth, we're here to create an abundant oasis, a beautiful place for us to live together, and like the limitations of what we can do with our consciousness is really what we're here to explore together. And this is why I'm so excited that Aurora is here too. I feel like in a way, like it's already this collaboration where I'm like opening up the field. And I mean, I know myself to be a galactic traveler. I woke up, you know, in the back of a taxi in 2013, where this voice in my head was like, "Where are you from?" And then I was like, "Andromeda." So I went home and I Googled beings from Andromeda, and of course found all the starseed stuff on the internet. And that's when I first, you know, found out about this, started having tons of dreams about space beings and like the things that we were doing. Because, so in my dreams, I remember that I'm a geneticist, but we didn't have bodies like we do here in like the physical. So it was like the consciousness was essentially understanding how to create life in form through love and vibration and sound and light. And this is actually a science, but it's like this total reverence for creation and love that feeds the science, which is what science actually is. Right? So it's this paradigm of genetics where we're perceiving reality from a higher dimension as it percolates down. And this level of consciousness, which we're going to be exploring today through various transmissions, is... There's a sound. Totally got distracted. There's a transmission. Okay. Okay. So this level of consciousness, we're perceiving structure from a higher dimension, is what is actually going to help us create new Earth, because everything is created in a higher dimension first, and actually all the issues that we have on the Earth also stem from a higher dimension. So most people know it's like the lower fourth dimension, where all these boogies were, that were kind of hijacking human creativity and the creativity of planet Earth for its agenda, not news. So we're going to be exploring how we reclaim the sovereignty of our energetic system by being actually very consciously aware of what the programming has been, which I think by this point we're all actually pretty much very well aware, but there's very easy techniques that we can just scan for distortions in our multidimensional body to bring us into that coherence, a place where we can manifest miracles. So I invite everyone to just take a deep breath into the belly. This is fun. This is the most exciting stuff. This is why the universe exists. This is why we're here. This is awesome. I just want to invite in the presence of all of our highest source connected aspects of self. The high, organic, angelic consciousness. I want to invite in the presence of all of our inner children who already has access to all of these superpowers that we know we already have. I just want to create this safe space also for our inner children to know that we are among friends, that we are free to be, that we're free to express, we're free to say crazy things that we believe in, that we're free to yelp and jump and, jump on each other and play. This is a good space. You're welcome here. I want to bring in the presence of our mystical aspects, the mermaid realm, fairy realm, the elemental realm, tree spirits. Got quite a party happening here. Like all these beautiful magical beings that were here. It's finally here. Okay. So we hear about 5D consciousness a lot, and what I've been experiencing in 2018 has actually been an integration of 7D consciousness embodied. So the 5D consciousness is like love and unity, where you're still kind of in your body and you still recognize that, this person's a person, and that person's another person, and this is me. But I love everyone, there's union. And then we move into 6D consciousness, which is when the soul recognizes its higher aspects and its sole purpose, right? Our gifts, our missions, what we're drawn to, our higher sense perceptions that are unique to us, the way we perceive. But then there's this, urgency where it's like, okay, like I gotta go on my mission, I gotta do this, I gotta save the world. Oh no, like things might not happen if I don't do things. There's this urgency where like, okay, we gotta do this mission thing. And then we move into 7D consciousness, where we're beginning to experience the oneness of all that is as an embodied experience. And in this place, we still have our mission, because when we move into higher dimensional aspects of ourselves, we don't discard the other dimensions. It's kind of like this ladder, this tunnel. We're connected. We're still in 3D. We're connected to all these dimensions of ourselves. So we still have that part of ourselves that recognizes we have a mission, but now there's this peace, this connection into the oneness, which actually feels as if it's full of joy, it's full of love, it's full of nurturance, it's full of the everything that creates all of this beauty, right? And when we have access to that infinite energy that is our self, then we actually move on with our mission quicker, because there's not so much pressure to become something, to do something. We just are there and we have access to ourself, and we're like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. So I understand that the 7D consciousness in my cosmology also feels like the theta state brainwaves, theta brainwave state, which is a state that you move into before you fall asleep. And there's a healing modality called Theta Healing, which is essentially a way of moving into this state of consciousness, or the state of the God self, which allows your consciousness to program the reality, and your immediate reality is your body, right? And so in this state of consciousness, you're able to reprogram your belief systems, how you feel about certain things and traumas and all of these things that you want to tweak, because we are the creators of our being, of our avatar, of our reality, and we can, make shifts, make corrections when we become aware of things that we prefer more. So I find that with the Theta Healing modality, it takes you into a meditation where you go up 7 layers, the 7th dimension, where there's a purple window, and then you go through the purple window and then you're there, right? That's how they do it. But then as I'm doing this work and actually embodying this state of consciousness, like it literally just feels like the particles in that tree, and the particles in that pole, and the particles in all these beings, like the energy and consciousness is moving through this is the same. It's like a visceral, embodied feeling. Not a concept that we understand, like, oh, everything is one, but like a visceral feeling that like my consciousness is literally inside that rock, and like I feel it, right? And this is like an embodiment of theta, or the 7D consciousness, which allows us to live in a state that allows us to create reality in the now. And there is, so I come from a line of ancient Taoist practitioners. They were women, and they practiced, I guess in the nowadays terminology, what you would call tantra, but it's really just mastery of the energy system, right? And so there's this stream of information from that ancient lineage as well about how we can bring coherence into our energy field, which literally allows us to create reality. So these are the 2 things that we're going to explore today. Very exciting. And so there's even beyond 7D, which is just the beginning of the recognition that everything is a oneness. And then we move into our angelic consciousness, our source, organic source consciousness, which we begin to merge with the consciousness that created all things. And this is a place beyond, the ego wanting to say like, oh, we're so powerful and stuff, right? Because there's such a humility when we actually merge into it, because it's huge. We're like, whoa, this is so much play stuff. There's so much play with here. And then we start to tune into like the storyline from that part of ourself. And this is how we move through the band of amnesia, of forgetfulness, right? We can literally reach our awareness up into that part of ourself that has been here all along. So this is something that was our... Oh. Hello? I think I broke it. Hi, okay. I learned this, and Aurora has this beautiful painting of this truth, and it's that like our chakras are actually like a pyramid, and our root chakra has to be like the most steady, combination of those two words. Because if we begin to activate our higher sense perceptions too quickly, then we start swaying into delusions. And this is actually what a lot of mental illness is that people are like activating their mystic powers, and then they're like not grounded in any reality, and then they kind of go like a little crazy. And so just before we continue, we want to just bring our awareness back into the body. Drink some water, it's great. Sunny. Beautiful. And let's actually connect all of that beautiful energy into the rocks that are here. Let's connect the mineral kingdom inside our bones with the minerals inside the earth. And feel the piezoelectric current of the communication between the minerals within and below. So when we start to tune into that level of awareness, we start tuning into everything. And I don't think anyone here is actually a stranger to the pain of this world right now, or have been, right? And because we're not separate, especially when we are consciously moving our awareness into a place of not separateness, we become ambassadors and custodians to clean up all the things that are not resonant with organic creation. That doesn't feel good to our inner children. It's like, that's not fun. Don't like that. No thanks. and sometimes these things can be difficult, and that's why we have to be grounded in our love, in our body, in the reality that we are divine creator beings. Right? Is this beautiful dance between being aware of everything and then being aware of everything. I've been traveling for the last 5 years as a grid worker, and I think there's plenty of you here. So I think more than anything, this is like an energetic massage. Like, yeah, it's okay, it's good. Let's sweep this dirt, come back to this place. I'm saying words. I've been doing that. But much of what's happening is actually not being said at all. It is an energetic field that has been created. It is a transmission from the sound. It's like what sound is, especially when we're vocalizing it, is these codes, geometries of intention that are shaping the sound in our throat. And so when we project the sound out, it's the information that's traveling through space that's being received. And so these sounds happen to be words, and then sometimes there are songs. And it's really to appease the conscious mind so it has something to do. I work with, I've been doing some healing work with Blue Star, and it's really funny, like in one of the sessions, like he was like, love and light, and then while he was like distracting the person with all these beautiful feelings of like yanking entities out of him, and he didn't even notice. Painless distractions. Sometimes they're good distractions. So today we're just preparing our energy body. We're coming into some information in our awareness. And then tomorrow, I think at 4, right? At 4. So you can check the schedule, but sometime in the afternoon we'll be doing a sound healing ceremony. And I had a dream in Mount Shasta a couple of years ago where I was up in the angelic realms, and they're like, hey, like these songs are for activating our source DNA, and they're to help us remember where we're from. And basically what they didn't say was that means like everything that's not our organic DNA is gonna like turn into organic DNA and leave. So sometimes it could be like difficult feelings, and so we're establishing a strong field of love and comfort and togetherness. And we're going to talk about some of the things that might come up. And it's a very collective thing that we're doing. So yay us. Yay everything. So this body of work is coming through called advanced light work, and how the guys kind of giggled when they sent this to me was like, yeah, you know, like we spend a long time being like, everything's love and light, we'll give each other hugs, and now we're gonna like do advanced light work where it's like, okay, everything is made of light and we're creators, so we can change it however we want. But only if we're made of light, which is a correction, an update, because that's how this madness happened, was like these beings were like, we're creator beings, we can enslave you if we want. And then we're like, oh crap, there's a loophole, we gotta fix that. So we fixed the loophole. You can be creator beings if you're made of love and you have the highest intentions for creation, for everything. You lost. So advanced light work is essentially becoming very consciously aware of everything that has happened. And I know that a lot of people don't like to look at that because they're like, oh, if I just think about love and light all day, then like that'll be my reality. But I'm going to explain why that's not always true. So in the ancient Taoist Qigong systems, there are 3 chakras, right? Energy centers, the higher, middle, and lower Dantian. And these are kind of like our creation circuit. The imagination, our inspiration, our divine love, our motivation, and our raw sexual energy, which fuels the creation. So if we're only manifesting from our imagination, then it's not grounded and it's not being fueled. And sometimes it'll manifest, but it'll come with, fine print. And this is what happens in like the law of attraction stuff. You got this big house, but you sold your soul by accident. Whoops. So how we can bypass that whole thing is by being very aware. Like when we're aware of our energy systems in this way, then we realize that our energy, our creation had been hijacked, because just look at how our imagination has been distorted through education, through video games. My little brother's watching satanic videos on YouTube. Is this whole mess, and he's 14 and there's millions of views. This is like something that's happening, and I know that some people are like, oh, there's a bifurcation, and like all the good kids are going to be over here and all the bad kids are going to be over there, and then we're going to be good. And I'm like, no, I didn't come here for that. They're like, oh, we're going to create a new planet and we're going to throw all the people that are not there yet over there. And I was like, it's still part of the universe, so now we're going to have to go over there, and that's no fun. Just once, please. I can't handle this one more time. And so then we move into the heart, and we see how these viruses have been injected into our society: jealousy, competition, this confusion over motivation, like creating for money, creating for power instead of creating out of love, for service and for creation. And then we have the distortion in sexuality that I don't even have to go into, right? Just like the TV, the pop songs. I actually, my guide dragged me to an Ariana Grande concert like a month ago. It was actually one of the best nights of my life, because I like really experienced like what being like in being everything feels like. It was like I was there at the concert, and then I was watching this being like disseminate all this like distortions of sexuality into these 12-year-old girls, and we were like creating these light technologies that like literally shifted what she was singing. So she was singing like natural love and spiritual stuff, and I was like, whoa, what's happening right now? It's super trippy. But anyway, like she's like that sexual misery vibrations is like so densely implanted into humanity, and this is like the hijacking of our energy. And then when we look at what our energy has created, is like the metropolis, Babylon. It's like none of us actually decided that we wanted that. We just were born into it, and we're like, oh my god, like, and then the we were like, okay, we're out of here. Outies. But then we left. A bifurcation happened because we needed to find ourselves. We needed to empower ourselves. We needed to embody who we truly are. And once we have this clear connection, we no longer need muggles to tell us or affirm who we are. We don't need our mom to be like, you're a starseed and you're doing so good. We don't need that anymore. So when we don't need that anymore, we can go back in and be superheroes undercover, right? It's all in the energy exchange. If we're exchanging energy unconsciously, we're going to get it. We're going to get energy, unconscious energy back. So, when we move through our Dantians with this understanding that this is our imagination, this is our inspiration, where are our thoughts still not in alignment with our highest truth? How are we spending our time? How are we being with our consciousness in ways that are not in alignment with our highest truth? And they could be really subtle, right? And then we move into the heart, and it's like we come into recognizing like how are we motivated in our life to do things that are not in alignment with our highest heart? Are we still doing our job that we hate? And like, there's ways to restructure our reality where you don't have to quit your job immediately, right? You can just change how you look at it and it'll change your reality. Because I didn't have a job for like 5 years, and then I ended up, like, all of my shamanic powers had activated, and I was like seeing entities and distortions and portals and all this crazy stuff, and then Source was like, okay, get a job. I was like, what? I haven't had a job in 5 years, and like, now I have all this, and she's like, oh. So I looked for a job, and it was at this addictions recovery place, actually, and it was like totally holistic. And I had been vegan for 5 years too that time, and Spirit was also like, you need to eat some meat. And I was like, no, I can't afford it. And so Spirit was like, okay, Spirit is very efficient, I find. Like, Spirit always wants to do like 8 things at the same time, because we can, because we're multidimensional beings. So Source was like, okay, like, I'm gonna get you a job. You're gonna go to this addictions recovery place. It's gonna serve only like high quality organic paleo food, and you're gonna cook it. And so I had this job. I worked like 80 hours a week where I was like chopping carrots and cooking, and while like my spirit was like flying around the house, like dealing with the entities that were attached to the people who have addictions. And it was like Spirit was like, yeah, like you can, and you have to show me that you can. You have to show me that you're ready, because we choose. It's like sometimes we hide in our 3D self just because it seems too much. It's like, oh my God, it's so unknown and crazy. I'm gonna eat a bunch of potatoes, which is fine. Because there's also a place that we get to where it's dream food. But also, like, just snapping back into the reality where I'm like, yes, I'm choosing, I can, yes. And it only took 2 months. I was at that job for 2 months. And then I got plucked out, and I started doing all the shamanic work, and everything came through. And that was like a really important experience for me, to understand that I can like chop carrots and, you know, do magic at the same time and totally undercover. Actually, I did at some point. There was a big conspiracy in the whole place. You know, of course it goes crazy because my energy there, and it's like kind of a muggle place. But they're like, they love the law of attraction. So I think like it was this weird grid work thing. But anyway, I'm there, and this crazy entity started like all attacking the lady that owns the place. And so like I literally like took the lady out for coffee and was like, hey, like there's an entity here, it's like totally attacking you. And like she had no idea what to say. She's like, yeah, you can like run around and sing and stuff, just like don't tell anyone. And then she gave me a raise. Just don't talk to the clients. Like, okay. So yeah, like got a job, was in 3D, but like you can, it's like when we are choosing to align and we're showing the reality that yes, we can anchor all of ourselves and still be in 3D, then you get to navigate away. Then you really know where you're going, right? It's all these initiations that we have to go through that's here to help us. So we're understanding that we can position ourselves, shift the angle of how we look at the reality to shift it. We don't have to really shift the external reality sometimes. We can just shift it from the inside. It makes all the difference, and then it manifests in the outside because we're ready. And then it changes our motivation, right? Instead of the motivation being, oh, I need money for my work, I need to go and make money, my motivation became, I'm going to embody in this 3D environment, because that's fun. It becomes a research experiment where, you know, I say this in a lot of my interviews because I think it's hilarious that my guys, when I was first waking up, would like drag my butt to the shopping mall and like have me sit in the cafeteria for like hours, and I just like watch the energy systems of all the people. And this is how I came into all this information that I'm now working with in advanced light work, is by like literally being out there and like watching and seeing what's happened, right? And you know, I see their energy system and how it's blocked up and what programs are there, and I'm writing down all of the programs and then creating quantum medicine for it through sound and recordings and guided meditation. So this thing is going to be able to walk somebody through a full clearing and realignment into the organic consciousness grid through just working with the material and the sounds. But this is what it becomes like a fun recon mission when we go to LA or, into the dense places. We're like, oh, what are they up to? How are things going, Sometimes it's a little ridiculous, but understand that all the technology is inside you. So unless you see it, you can't activate your technology. I'm talking to you, Morgan. Sometimes, it's like in those malls, I recognize what the medicine is needed for, right? What the people really need. And it's like I'm writing this book in 2 different vibrations. The light worker version is called Advanced Light Work, and then the Muggle version is called The Internal Medicine Cabinet, and is written in a language where it's healing, emotional, and like it's a self-healing book, but it has the light codes inside to lead somebody into the organic grid, right? And all of these things came through when we are joyfully out there loving everything, even though it's ridiculous. There's a peacock on that man's head. That's awesome. A huge theme in my own life, especially in like the last 6 months, has been an exploration of sovereignty within relationships. And I'm finding this movement that's occurring organically in my life where because the beings in my life are all intending to move into total self-leadership and sovereignty, that the nature of relationships are shifting. Like any descriptions or patterns or geometries of connection that existed in the old paradigm, which was created to siphon our creative energy and keep us in a state where we're not able to create, which is a huge thing. Right? It's so deep. This is such a deep wound. This is who we are. The essence of who we are have been hijacked, right? And it's okay to acknowledge it from that place. because only when we acknowledge it can we fully reclaim it, and it's not going to the dark place. Who was it that was telling me the other day? Go to the dark, but bring a flashlight with you. I think it was Corey, actually, Corey Sheik. At least he knows. And so this is a messy process, when we're finding our pod, our tribe, beings that are with us. It's such an interesting dance between supporting and allowing and non-enabling, right? It's important to establish the main intent, which is assisting each other in acquiring sovereignty so we can all be free, so we can all create heaven on earth, not to lose track of that. Because I think that's really what our souls are most interested in, right? Like, there's really nothing else we want besides complete sovereignty and being in heaven altogether, right? There's nothing to cling on to that's from the past that brings us joy. It doesn't work. We already know this. It's okay to come back to this place where we remember what we're here to do and restore this clarity so we're able to communicate, clearly about how to support each other but not be entangled. And so there's a lot of rewiring happening in relationships, especially of the sexual nature, where boyfriend and partnership, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to explore, but very advanced. It's a very advanced and complicated thing to explore, right? And we have to be so grounded in our intention, which is sovereignty, assisting each other, embodying our soul, and being really radically honest with ourselves of how energy is flowing, how we're unconsciously taking energy, because it's there's no blame. This is the situation we were incarnated into, and all these karmic patterns were also given to us. So it's all good. It's all good. It's just all about being clear and holding this intention really clearly. The words that want to come through is kin, is brotherhood and sisterhood. It's going into our sexuality and our creative power and releasing any shame, any resistance to go there, any fear. I think, we're all empaths, and we're aware that very gnarly things occurred on this planet, and so naturally we feel it because we're in the oneness of the field with it. So there's a lot of fear, there's rape, there's rituals, things that happen even in the hospitals. And all of these things, these distortions, are influencing the way that we interact with each other. And now we are coming into perfect clarity and awareness of ourself and how we are interacting, how we are sharing our energy, how we may be, reflecting the parasitic structures that were in place. And in order to create a new structure, we need to first become perfectly aware of all of those within ourselves so we can literally create it in our life. This is how we do it. And so there's been a lot of dissolution of attachments to beings who are comfortable to us, who are acting a role for any of our scared inner children. And that's perfectly okay when it's conscious. It's so beautiful when it's conscious. We're all each other's mothers and fathers and sisters, daughters and sons. This is beautiful. This is who we are for each other. We're family. But we're just bringing it up into awareness that we're doing this consciously, so we are unknotting. And also, just thank you all so much for being so brave, so courageous to come here and like take this on. You know, it's scary. Stayed up all night last night, like interacting with this being who's done like gnarly things. And I'm like, this is gross. I don't like it. I do not prefer this. It's really scary. Right? Have breakfast, go back in for more. Oh, somebody was like, do you play any sports? I'm like, yeah, I'm on the deportation of entities squad. And for all the women who are here, I want to bring in this connection into the what we call like the Christed womb or the Magdalene womb, the Sophia womb. It's this understanding that there was confusion. You know, they're like, oh, don't have sex with people who are dirty, it might like mess you up, you know? And it's like the womb is infinite. It can transform all things. It can give and return life. And this is a difficult thing that wants to come through right now, so I'm just gonna share, and it's that like, just as we can shift our perception on how we view our life, as this is a very interesting dialogue in the angelic realm where like, this wasn't supposed to happen, but like everything happens for a reason, but like this has gone too far, but like, hey, at least we can like gather these gifts and gold and we can like, you know, alchemize it into something that was useful, so we like didn't just go through all that for nothing. And so, just that when rape occurs, like any being that we exchange energy with on such an intimate level is connected to us, and that when we transcend, when we ascend, when we evolve, these beings are directly influenced and they can't not evolve because their energies are intertwined with ours, right? And so in a sixth sense, like we can perceive it from the reality where like these beings are receiving our light and our grace. And that when we are super tuned into our self as a creator, as an embodied angel, that nothing can harm us, right? We're perfect. Nothing can change who we are. Nothing can take that away. In some sense, it almost feels like this being, it's like Earth is such a special place. There's so much life, so much diversity, so much sentience in everything. It's such a brilliant, beautiful place. It is a genius. And when there's a situation, code red, happening in the universe, you know, if there's anybody that's going to figure it out, it would be Earth. And we are definitely figuring it out. And it is through the total reclaiming of our energy, because this is actually when we start to experience miracles. We start to begin to explore what's beyond healing, right? Like, there is a beyond healing. And it's kind of like a balance, because there's like our own healing, and then there's like the healing of everything, and it's like we can't separate from everything, so like the wounding of everything is like inside us. But also there is a place where we have cleared everything that is our own self, and we come into the sovereignty and we begin to realize who we truly are. And then we start to explore the fascination of what we're capable of, which is like, erasing chemtrails in the sky with our laser eyeballs. Thank you, Brian. So it is my feeling, let's just bring it back here to this land for a minute. Like, I feel that the desert here feels like it is here because of electricity. The electricity is a drying force, is a masculine force, right? And this is what's like kind of drying up the land. And I feel like when we move into our connection with the elemental realm, we begin to tune into really like what the earth needs, and we move into a place where we're no longer like, oh, I think that I'm a fairy. We're like, no, I'm a freaking fairy and I know how to do this. Don't have to tell anyone about it either. Unless it's like really exciting. You're like, oh my god, this just happened. This is so cool. I just like made this flower grow the land and just water's coming up. Yeah. And I've seen these visions, and all these visions that I had like 5 or 7 years ago were about what's happening now, right? And everything that I had visions about 5 to 7 years ago came true now. And in the last few months, I've been having these crazy visions about like us like materializing crystal castles and like terraforming, creating like lagoons and water and rivers and trees and like healing the ozone layer. This is what we're able to do together because we're from this place. We've been here for so long. We understand this technology. This is us. And so, I just invite everyone to tune into that frequency reality where we're portaling, we're creating the new earth. We're moving into these things where we know. Let's again tune into our inner children. We know this is what we've come here to do. We know this is what we can do. Maybe our mom or a teacher or a sibling like made fun of us because we saw, orbs and stuff. They're like, oh, that's dumb. But no, it was real. It's all real. And the final concept to wrap that all up is I feel that in this time is a time for radicalness. We can stay in a mode of half asleep. We can stay in a mode of maybe it'll come when it comes. But right now is a time that calls for radical togetherness and radical timeline shift. And timeline shifts happen in our own life, right? We can say, oh, I'm going to just stay at my job until I retire. But then you're saying, like, Earth is going to wait 5 more years for me, right? And we have to make this commitment inside ourselves. It's like, it's all fun. Like, oh, we're dancing, we're playing. Like, how deeply are we making this commitment inside ourselves in every now moment to be fully aware of what we're doing with our energy? To be fully aware of what we are creating, of fully aware of what timeline we're on, and how easy is it for us to just hop, like, okay, I'm going to assess what the highest timeline is, and now I'm going to go here. I made all these plans, but this is what Spirit's telling me, so I'm going to do this, right? because this is going to happen as quickly or as slowly as we make it happen. Right? And I think we're all like, let's get going. And I think Aurora's going to say this too, is like, we don't have that much time. Like, we are stalled, right? Like, these beings, they're like, they don't want us to create a new earth because then they'll have no more food. And so of course they're going to be like, oh, come over here, look at all these sparklies. This guy's like, I'm Jesus, come and like be in my cult. You know, we don't have to look for our spirituality. We don't have to look for anything. We are here. We're in this moment. We are empowered. We know why we're here. We know who we are. We're not here to look or find out or be spiritual. We already are all of those things. And how we can move there quicker is through radical togetherness. You know, so quickly in life we can go through a hard time and, you know, the person's kind of like an acquaintance. You're like, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to help them or whatever. You know, I met this guy who was like, oh my God, you're my family. And I'm in Toronto. And he's like, I need to go to Nova Scotia to see my baby. I'm like, all right, let's hop in the car. Let's go right now. Right? And like, this is how miracles happen, because timelines occur and there's this momentum. And if we can snap out of it and just like do something completely ridiculous, and this is in like the Mexican dreaming traditions, I don't remember what it's called, but this is how you jump realities and you snap into connection with the universe, is doing ridiculous things that are radical, right? We can do that. This is our moment where we embody our sovereignty truly. It's like, yes, I can do this right now and I'm going to do it. So with that, I would just invite everyone to explore the possibilities, you know, like this is such a beautiful canvas. How many acres? 640 acres.
Square mile.
A square mile. Let's see what we can do, you know? It's like, it's not, it's almost like this a colony is creating a template and is no longer anything that we can do by ourselves or with our other or with just a few people. Is a template, is a geometry that we need to anchor on the ground of what New Earth really feels like when we're together. Right? So we open up this possibility, this very exciting chance to co-create, and all of these access to magic is your invitation to really step into that reality. I'm just gonna sing one more song, and then You are oneness connection with the nurturance of the divine universe, the divine mother, the divine father, divine creation, all the time. It is that which you are. May you always remember that.
Thank you, Z. She'll be tomorrow. I think it's 4, and then at 5, I think is kind of this closing circle, which she'll partake in with other people also. So you have another chance to drop in, and then we, at the very end. Oh, look at these friends.
Oh my goodness!
Oh. And yeah, and then she's also scheduled the very last thing of the whole festival and Sunday night, 12:30. I think she and Machu and maybe some other friends will all do the final capper to close it out. So really wanted to feature her prominently because I feel that I feel like she is the reason why I created this festival, is to be able to have her share what she just did with you. So. Or just an example of the reason, but a really, really perfect example. Because we have another great example coming up soon, which will be Alea. But before Alea, the rest of the afternoon after Dr. Steve Schwartz is going to do an amazing sound healing, and he has that Vibradome, that Shift Pod tent, right in front of the New Earth Stage Truth Playhouse big dome. It's right on the road. So if you have a chance during the whole course of the festival, he has these amazing vibro lounges and incredible, and he'll be teaching on that tomorrow. But right now he's going to just give you a full immersion experience of his sound healing technologies that he's developed called bioharmonic technologies. And so that's to shift into that a little more, because we do like to feature a lot of sound healing. And then after that will be Alea Love featured this afternoon starting at 1-ish. We're a little behind schedule. And then Dream Rockwell, and then Grandmother Abril on this stage. But so that's, if you want to drop into more teachings after this one. But then in the other dome today, as you look at the schedule, we have a full lineup of sound healing taking place for the rest of the afternoon, such as Durian will be later on, and Danny Goldberg with some gongs, and Machu sharing some just sound healing journeys there. And that ends at 5 o'clock when we have a yin yoga class with one of our yoga teachers, Kali, will be teaching our yoga class there right before dinner. And of course tonight we have our stellar lineup of music. So
should we make an announcement about the immersion?
And then, thank you for reminding me, since Z is going to sing. Back at my house in town here, I've set up one of my large portal installations called the Alcyon Portal, and we're going to meet there Monday evening and to get oriented, and then all day Tuesday, Z will be guiding this advanced light work, a full day immersion with her in this incredible container. It's as big as the stage, but it's a container with sacred geometry and sound all in it, right in town. So it's the oracular. What's the full title? Okay, you talk about it. Invite everyone.
Yeah, so super exciting. I'm really finding this shift of moving out of doing sessions, because I'm finding that it's not immersive enough, and I'm wanting to be more efficient. So we've started to create 2-day kind of immersion, but we're really inside the energy. We do what is coming through as a auricular sound ceremony. So it's be an oracle of the source, the organic source energy, and like the sound literally like clears, brushes, heals, moves away, and then brings in the truth. So we'll be playing, and then we're gonna have a ceremony. It's very much, so my birth name, my dad read an astrology book for 3 days, and he doesn't believe in astrology or anything. He thinks I'm nuts. I don't know, so something like took him over and was like, read this book for 3 days. And he named me Xiangming, which means fragrant medicinal tea. And my body in 4D like literally looks like and like what's happening in these ceremonies are like, I'm literally like it's like we don't have to like drink and go crazy and throw up a whole bunch. The technology has been integrated and upgraded, so it's now much more smooth and coherent, and we can move through the clearings without suffering a lot. Sometimes there is, some suffering, because when things are really in there, they need to kind of like come out. But yes, I really would love to share that experience with all of you, so please come out.
Yeah, see me or her, and it'll start on Monday, and we could camp there, so it's enough room. We have a capacity of 20 people total, so we'll see how it fills up. But please talk to us, and come, yeah. So that's after.
I think
that's
it's
starting
Tuesday.
out
It
Monday.
starts
Well,
Tuesday.
you can come on Monday night, but it starts Tuesday morning is the full immersion. It's an all-day Tuesday, and if you want to stay over, and then we'll wind it down on Wednesday. But it's basically the full day of Tuesday is what you need to be there to get the full experience, and we'll just ramp up and wind it down Monday night and Wednesday morning. Okay, we need to get on to our next, I think, and so